Hello, hello, beautiful people out there. Welcome to Wednesday Embodied Cooking class with me, Leanne. I am really excited to make this today because I have not made it in a while. This is my kale Caesar salad. This is like an absolute staple in my life, and I haven't made it in months, so it will be fun to make it with you all today. Before we begin, let us do our wonderful ritual of taking some deep breaths, just releasing whatever we have built up from the day up to this point. Whenever you're watching this video, take a deep breath in, pause at the peak, and release. Just feel your feet on the ground, whatever part of you is touching the ground or the chair. Take another long, slow breath. Pause and release just as slowly. One more. Pausing at the peak and exhaling slowly. And now let's pause for a moment, eyes closed gently, just to notice what's happening inside our body. What have those breaths done for us? All right, and gently open your eyes, and let's get to this wonderful lesson. Okay, so kale Caesar salad, we have our kale, and then for our dressing, it's a Caesar. I'm actually gonna skip the anchovy today because I just don't have any at the moment, and I'll show you the version that I do, and we're gonna use an egg yolk, which will be really fun to show you how that works. And then I like to add just a tiny little bit of hot sauce and mustard, and then lemon juice. I'm pointing to a lemon that is off screen. Let's bring the lemon into play. Another one that you can add in, of course, is garlic, raw garlic. I'm not going to do that today because I want to keep it a little bit simpler. But that would be great for a classic Caesar dressing, if that's really what you're going for. And of course, we finish with Parmesan. But the first thing that we're going to do before we do the dressing and the kale is we're going to make croutons. So I have some bread over here, and it's now a couple days old, which is great, actually. This is what we want, sort of not so fresh bread that we can use for making croutons. And so croutons, of course, are little squares of bread that you can either just sort of dry them out to get them crunchy, or you can fry them in oil, which is what we're going to do, or butter, actually. And when you do that, you can also add salt, you can add spices, you can really go to town if you like. This is already a really lovely olive rye bread, so I'm just going to do butter and salt. It's going to be pretty magnificent. Another sort of play on this will be to use breadcrumbs, actually, like crumbled up instead of the bigger chunks. There are a lot of restaurants that do their Caesar salads that way, and are really quite wonderful. If you have any leftover zatter breadcrumbs from the other week when we made that for our lentil dish, you could use that here. It would be pretty wonderful, just ready made. But for me, if I have sort of leftover bread, I usually just make a bunch of croutons and have them around. They'll last wonderfully. Just put them in a plastic bag or something that you can seal up, and they'll be good for quite some time. So let's get started. I'm basically going to just slice up This was fun. I'm using, instead of a serrated knife, because this is a little, like I said, the bread is a little tough. So I don't need to use a serrated knife. I can just use this and I can cut clean edges with it. So I'm gonna do, I'd say for this amount, I'm just gonna do 3 slices. And these are pretty small. Maybe I'll do 4. 4 slices. And then do something else with that later. Okay. And then I'm going to cube these. So here we go. There we go. There's something very satisfying about slicing sort of through the crust, which is so much tougher, and then the rest of the bread, and just feeling the difference between that texture, how you kind of have to use the movement of the knife. This is the crispiest one. The outside is very crispy. Let's listen for the crunchies. So crunchy. All right. Wonderful. So that's done. Now we're going to go to the stove. And I am going to take butter, about that much, tablespoon or so, and allow it to melt. Got it on high, I'm just turning it down to medium. This is one of my favorite things to make for a weeknight dinner. It's just great as it is. Sometimes have added salmon. A lot of people, of course, adding chicken into it is very normal. As I think you guys have caught on, I'm not really eating meat at the moment, so I'm not going to be doing that right now. But it's just so yummy and satisfying, and I really do enjoy the process of making it. I think the croutons go like, oh man, I have to make croutons. But as I'm doing it, I realize it's not really all that much work. And of course, nothing is work. I think we have this, oh, hard work. You know, it's something we're proud of. But in a way, it's like something how it needs to be unpleasant. But so often things that are hard work are actually very pleasant while you're doing them, as well as in the satisfaction afterwards. It's like you just have to not let your expectations get in the way, I think. I know I do that all the time. I'm like, oh, this is work, therefore I'm not having fun. And then you're not open to the fun that is there. Okay. We have meltiness. And I'm just going to add these in. And for efficiency, I would most of the time just make a big batch of these and have them around. But I just wanted to make kind of the right amount for the salad today, just for you all to see. But I do really recommend, yeah, just using whatever hunk of bread you have around. Alrighty. So that is just sizzling. One thing I'm going to do and just recommend is kind of just shake the pan so that every bread cube is fully touching the bottom. And I'm just gonna swirl the butter around. And then it's tough to do with this pan, but I am gonna just toss. Oh, it's challenging just because it's so darn heavy. Woo! But that makes sure that the butter is kind of evenly distributed both in the pan and on the croutons as well. Okay. Now we need our big old bowl for our dressing. And so we are going to start with this egg. We're going to separate it. And if you have never done this before, don't be scared. You've got this. I promise you. And so there's so many ways to do this, but I think I'm going to show you the sort of generally considered safest, easiest way. And so we're going to crack it just like we would any raw egg. And so I made a little hole, and now I'm kind of giving the opportunity for it to come out really carefully, because as we know, we're going to have whites coming out. So I'm going to let it all catch in this dish, the white, which we're not going to use. So as I gently pull this apart, the white is falling out, and I'm catching the yolk in this other side. So there we go. And you can use this and basically loop it from one side to the other and let the white fall as you loop it from one side to the other, just letting it become less and less and less until, whoop, and I broke it right at the end. That happens too, even to professionals. So there we go. We have our yolk, which I broke at the last moment, which is wonderful and dramatic for you all. And now I'm going to toss this again. We have browning happening. And so with these, you can be so kind of obsessive about it and like carefully flip each one over so every side is brown. But I just like to kind of toss it, hope for the best, hope there's a decent amount of browning on all the edges by the end of it, and just not think too hard about it, because otherwise, whew, it's easy to truly obsess. So we have our egg yolk. And as you can see, there's a little bit of the white in here. Totally fine. No big deal. And now for those who are very concerned about eating a raw egg, I guess what I'd ask is if you know you have a compromised immune system or something, you may want to be very, very risk averse and just skip the egg yolk. But for most of us, eggs are perfectly safe these days, and we're adding in mustard and lemon juice and all these things that really do break down any like bacteria and things like that as well. So we have a bit of mustard here, about a tablespoon that I'm adding in. Then I like to do a little squirt of hot sauce, this sweet hot sauce. I just think it's so good. It adds something important. Oh, the mustard is so powerful, amazing. And then we have lemon juice. Oh, this is not, wow. I really just squirted lemon juice in my own eye. Ow, I feel alive. Also, that really hurt. Don't recommend. So I'm going to squirt this, and I am going to just hold it over my hand in case any seeds come out. But it looks like we're pretty good here. This is a really nice juicy lemon. Ooh, yeah. And so the quantity here is, I do say like the juice of a lemon, and that's going to vary so much, the size, how ripe it is, all of these things. But I like my dressing really lemony. We have a whole big bunch of kale here. I think this should be a really nice quantity. Check on our, yep, there's sort of a smokiness in the air, so I want to, these are darkening. Woo! I'm just going to flip some of these ones that look a little too golden, or not golden enough. Whew. Yeah. We're close to done here. Squeeze the other lemon. Fantastic. And now I'm just going to whisk it up. And now we're going to add in the olive oil. And I gave you quantities in the recipe, but I always do this by eye. It's like until it thickens. So I'm going to pour it and whisk it to create an emulsion. That means that like water, something with water base and oil base can come together by whisking. And so it's going to thicken and thicken up to the point where it just really starts to look right. And that's when I'll stop. But use the quantities for your first time that I suggest, just for the best result. And for your own just confidence. Okay. So that looks great to me. I'm also going to taste it. Yeah, tastes wonderful. I'm just going to add a tiny bit of salt and pepper. And I'm going to turn off the heat while I'm back here, because those are looking done. Pepper, pepper, pepper. Wonderful. So good. Okay. So these are off the heat. Just gonna move them around. Ooh, yeah. Okay. And now we're almost done. Like, this is what's so fun about having your meal be a simple salad like this. It's really quite quick. Now all we have to do is process the kale. Toss it in. Look at this wilty guy already. I just bought these. And so by now, if you've been watching for a while, you've seen me do this a few times, because kale really is my favorite salad green. I use it all the time. I always have it on hand. And in particular, this kind of kale, dinosaur kale. I don't really like the curly kind. Oh my goodness. But so we're going to kind of pull it away from the stem down here till we have something to hold on to. And then we yank and we pull it away from the rib. And there's something wonderfully visceral about this. And it requires confidence. This is another thing. There's so many sort of opportunities in cooking for if you don't always feel so confident in your movements. And I have to say that for myself, that has long been a struggle, you know, doing something with my hands or something the correct way with pressure has always made me very nervous. But the kitchen gives me a really good chance to practice that kind of thing and to realize that I am very capable, actually, even if I need to try a movement a few times. Okay. Ooh, that's a nice fresh one. Great. So that's a nice big pile. I'm going to just cut through these to begin with before we do the rest. Just making small pieces so that everything can just makes it easier to eat, in my opinion. Not really small pieces, but just sometimes people do ribbons for something like this, and you can if you like. But I think just sort of chunks like this, there's a few sizes happening in here, are all good. Great. Oh, yeah. There we go. Okay, so here we go. Kale, get rid of these. Wonderful. And now you're gonna be shocked, but I like to toss it with my hands. Absolutely use tongs if you like. I will grab some tongs and do a couple tosses after, but for this first one, to get all of the dressing in, it's so nice to do it with your hands. So just pull it sort of from the bottom, because you have that pool of dressing, and then just really kind of massage it in there. Get that dressing everywhere. Woo! And some falls on the floor sometimes. It's been known to happen. And we clean up after ourselves. So I'm going to do a little bit of Parmesan on here as well. And you know what? Today, I think rather than doing a small grate, I'm going to do some kind of strips to have like a little chunk every now and then. It seems nice. So I'm going to do that. I'm using this like little potato carrot peeler. Lovely. Okay. Whoa! Flying cheese everywhere. Oh my goodness me. Okay. And we have oh, it's so heavy. Oh. And we have our croutons, warm croutons. And now I will give a little toss. And this is it. I did not rush at all, but we're done. And I know it's sort of like, well, it's just a salad. Yeah, it is just a salad. It doesn't take long. But also we made croutons from scratch, sort of, from bread. And we made dressing all just in this time, and absolutely no rush. And I know that's something that a lot of people think is sort of like a big deal to do, but it's not. This is a very attainable weeknight meal, midday lunch. And the wonderful thing about this kale is it's so hardy. This will last. You can put it in Tupperware in the fridge. It will last really beautifully for a few days. So here we are. Oh, and I need a fork now. Here we go. Wonderful. Really happy with that. I hope that you give this a try. If it at all appeals to you, really, really simple and delicious. Thank you so much for joining me. This was kind of a quick one, which is a nice change of pace. And let me know if there's anything else you really want to learn. I'm always so happy to have requests, and just any feedback would be so welcome. Thank you so very much, and I will see you next time.